Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Alrighty, hi everyone. I hope if you are in America, you're having a wonderful holiday weekend. Don't know what you're doing spending it with me, but maybe you're watching this later on, or maybe, you just want to hang out with your favorite booktuber. That's great. We love it. We love it. So I was struggling trying to decide which video to do today, and nothing was really catching my eye. Wasn't sure where I wanted to go. And so when things like that happen, sometimes I like to look up and see what tags I've saved, because I know that tags aren't the most popular thing that people want to do anymore, but I think they're interesting. I think they usually lead to some really fun discussions, and I know with me anyway, I always think that a tag video is going to be nice and quick, and then I get into it and I have so much to say, and you guys seem to like listening to me yak about stuff. So this one is a tag that I saw Big Sis, Bookish Big Sis Crystal do recently, and it was actually created by a booktuber I used to watch a ton back when I first started watching, and I actually used to do her Wednesday tag videos like all the time, but then I just got away from doing tags and just did my own type of recommendation videos and everything, and kind of fell off of doing that. But this tag is the Get to Know My Reading Taste tag, and this was created by Thoughts on Tomes, and my name is Marinus, and this is a tag that goes over your reading taste, right? And I think I've done some things like this in the past. There's ones that are like Get to Know the Romance Booktuber, there's Get to Know the Romantasy Reader, there's all those fun things like that. But this one just says it straight up as like reading taste, though of course because it's me, it's going to be romance focused. So hopefully this will lead to some great discussion. I of course did watch Crystal's video, but it's been about like 3 weeks since I watched it, so like I don't remember how she was breaking everything down. I just know that it was a video that I saved so that I could make the tags. And so I'll have, if I remember to, I'm bad at this, but if I remember to, I'll tag her video down below and then the creators of the tag as well. But this does have 15 questions, so I foresee that we could be talking a while. So maybe get a drink. I have my white chocolate iced coffee here, and we'll see where it leads. I haven't done any prep, so if there's books I'm supposed to grab or things that are supposed to happen, I'll probably just put pictures of them up and everything, because like I said, I didn't want to prep anything. I just went into it blind. Besides, I know what a couple of the questions are because I remember Crystal answering them. So anyway, without further ado, let's get into it, okay? With what Get to Know My Reading Test, or Get to Know My Reading Taste for the Book Refuge. So here we go. Question number 1. How do you rate books? Give a quick rundown of how you do your star ratings, or if you don't use them, how I evaluate books. So this is something that the last time I made a video about this was a very long time ago, but I do find it hard quantifying my rating scale, okay? So see, already we're getting into a discussion. Now, I have a 6-star reading scale. I have had that for, wow, I could look back, but I believe about 5 years. And I always give credit where credit is due. I first saw Beautifully Bookish Bethany have 6-star reads, and I thought the idea was brilliant, okay? And the reason I say this is that I'm generally a pretty easy rater. Being someone who reads romance, I'm only looking for a few specific things to have a good time. Yes, there's things we can stack on top of that that make for a favorite book, but I'm not usually asking a ton. That doesn't mean I don't get irritated by things here or there, but I'm here for a good time, and if you give that to me, I'm probably going to be pretty favorable towards your book. And so what I was running into is that with the volume of books that I was reading, I had so many 5 stars. Now, I don't have a problem giving tons of books 5 stars. I don't struggle with it at all. It's easy for me to hand them out. But that meant that when I was coming to the end of the year to do favorites videos and things, I was struggling because I would have like 150 5-star reads, right? And at that time, I was reading about 700 books a year. So you can see sometimes it was hard to shake it down. And so one thing I didn't want to do, because I was a book reviewer, is I didn't want to penalize books that weren't my very favorites by not giving them 5-star. And so I created a 6-star system. And the 6-star system is based a lot on emotion. And I'll go through some of that right now. But again, don't hold this to me. I can be finicky about it. Sometimes a book that is flawed in many aspects is still a 6-star read because of what it made me feel. I'm an extremely emotion-based reader, for good or for ill. So if the book is hitting me just right, I will overlook so many things. And if a book irritates me in a few basic ways, it can be the most perfect book ever written, and I'm going to hate it, right? And that's just how it is, right? It is a taste-based thing. I am not as analytical as some. I'm very emotional in that. Like, I don't have a problem saying that. So how I look at this then is that a 6-star read for me is a book that just has the magic, okay? It's, as I said, very difficult for me to put that into place, okay? But in years past, when I have a 6-star ranking scale, I then like break down a book based on like the female character, the male character, what their like first meeting and the beginning of their relationship is like, what the third act conflict is like did the author set it up good, or is it completely a surprise? Is it handled well? If there is a third act breakup or conflict, does it make sense for the characters, or does it feel like the author is manufacturing drama? Does the spice fit the story? That's one that's been added in recent years, because I do like hot, spicy books, but for it to be a 6-star read, I really need it to be emotional and mean something. And then also a wow factor and an emotion factor. Now, again, those are how I rate books once I've already made them a 6-star. Like, they have all of those things, right? I like all of those aspects of it. And then at the end of the year, I'll decide between those. But to bring it back, how I do my rating scale. See, this is going to be a long video. I can tell already because I have so much to say about this. But for me, a 6-star read is the one that is harder to put into place, because, again, it can be a book that I know in some aspects could be a 4-star, but if the author is just vibing with me and their story is just everything I want it to be, it's going to be a 6-star, and then it just is, okay? Now, what's a 5-star read for me? A 5-star read for me, I think, is the easier one to get into. And again, a 6-star falls into the 5-star. It's just, it has even over the top of this. A 5-star for me is I get sucked into the book very quickly. It's very difficult for me to put down. I like, of course, both the hero and the heroine. Even if they are a challenging character, like the author has done a good job explaining why they are the way they are. Like if it's a black cat heroine, does she have reasons for being grumpy and bitchy, right? Not that everyone needs reasons, but in a book, I need more of a reason than just she's not like other girls, right? I need there to be reasons for how she's become how she is. If it is like, again, I need the spice to feel genuine. I hate even saying spice, the intimacy. I need the intimacy to feel genuine, even if it's a one-night stand. Like, is there a wow factor there? I want a swoon factor to be there. Like, it's just so hard to quantify it. That's the problem with being an emotional reader, is I rarely am picking things apart on anything other than emotion. Okay, like, I don't care. I've been a book reviewer for all this time. I'm an emotion-based person. And if you are a watcher who has realized you're on the same emotion base as me, then we just vibe, you know, and that word gets so overused. But yeah, a 5-star read just comes in hot, keeps me going the whole way through. It possibly isn't too long, though again, there are exceptions to everything, but like, I feel like the author knows how to balance their story. Like there's a perfect amount of time spent on the beginning, middle, and end, right? And I don't just mean that in like structurally, like do you hit the beats exactly right, but are you having me anticipating turning it, or do I feel like there's a slog at any points? But then for me, a huge punch lies in the ending, right? Because third acts are the crux of the matter in so many aspects. Whether there's a third act breakup or not, does that third act just hit me in the gut and keep me, you know, enthralled, right? And And yeah, there are some factors that can sway that here or there. Again, I'm very emotion based, but basically what I mean by this is it's not about for like you to, you know, understand why I gave it the 5-star, but to give you an idea of like, if Jenn's rated it a 5-star, it doesn't mean it's perfect, because I'm not looking for perfection, but it made me feel things. It was very enjoyable. If there were...
And welcome or welcome back to another video.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so glad you're here. Today we are going...
I have my tablet in front of me and I accidentally bumped a button. Realized I didn't have this muted, so we have it muted now to go through these questions. Sorry. And so that's just kind of what that means for me. Okay, a 4-star. Now where I do the half-star rating systems, but I'm just going to explain the full stars and then you'll get what's kind of in between. A 4-star is still very enjoyable. I absolutely would still recommend this book. Maybe there was a thing or two here that put me off. Maybe it was a bit too long. Maybe the third act did spoil the book a little bit, but in general, I still think it's amazing. Maybe one of the characters just didn't quite fit with the other one perfectly, but I still enjoy myself. Did it have something really unusual that threw me off at a certain point? But in general, a 4-star read is absolutely solid. I give a lot of 4 stars. I give out even more 4.5s that I round up to 5s for rating purposes, just because I always say this, when I'm doing arcs, I tend to add about like a 1/2 star to my scale, just because I don't know, I like to be kind to books when they're first coming out, unless I really hate it. I'll be honest if I hate it. But yeah, 4-star is absolutely solid, and I will definitely be recommending it multiple times still. Yeah, usually there's not many things that like brought the book down. It's more of that there wasn't something that pushed it up, if that makes sense. If it's at a 4-star, means it was solid. I don't have any major complaints. Now, when we drop down to the 3 and the 3.5, this is where I give a lot of 3.5s that I round up to 4, in the same way I do a lot of 4.5s that I round to 5, especially with arcs, because there is this generally accepted thing now that if you are rating a book less than 4 stars, you don't rate it the day it comes out. And I like to have my reviews done. So oftentimes, if I feel like it's less than a 4, it'll be a 3.5 that I round to a 4. But for a 3, this is iffy whether I recommend it or not, okay? Possibly I still will if it's a 3, because it is, I'll say this because it's way over the top. You guys know, if you've been around, I make a lot of kinky recs and taboo recs, and a lot of times a kinky or taboo book might not work for me, but I appreciate what it's doing. I'm glad that it's giving some spice that is not normal, and so I still want to recommend it to people who will like that specifically. Example of this was just a Patreon book that I read that did not work for me. It was Runaway Whirlwind. This book didn't work for me. I just was not vibing. I felt uncomfortable at certain points. It just wasn't working. However, it had breeding kink, it had daddy kink, it had kind of a forced pregnancy. Those are some tropes that I know my viewers like, because you tell me you like. And so there wasn't anything too horribly bad with this book, even though I didn't care for it. But I'm still going to recommend it in specific spots, because if I do a daddy kink video, I might put it in there, right? If I do a forced pregnancy, I'm going to put it in there, right? If I do a large age gap, I might put it in there. So it just means that for me, I was soured by some things, but I don't generally think it was a horrible book. It just did not vibe for me. And I, you know, again, because I'm emotional, even if it's a good book and it's not vibing for me, I'm not just going to give it a 4 or a 5 star and be objective about it, right? Like, I am very rarely ever going to be an objective reviewer. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm not writing for the New York Times. I don't have to try to see the positives if I don't want to. So when I'm giving a book 3 stars, it means there are still situations where I'd recommend it, but there were some severe detachment for me with the story, right? Like, one of the characters or the other makes decisions that I just can't understand, or the character motivations weren't there, or straight up, the intimacy that is put on page just felt very forced. And I don't just mean like force as in non-con. I mean like the author did not set it up right. They just wanted to throw kinks in there to sell it in that aspect. Like, those are things that I pick up on and make me annoyed with the story. Now we get to a 2-star, and just being honest, 2-star is generally the lowest that I rate things, okay? Normally, if I feel a book headed for 2 stars, I will DNF. So I'll just throw this out there. I heavily DNF. It's why when I do my monthly wrap-ups, if you see something below a 3-star, it's probably because I had to finish the book. And that means, and I hated it, right? So for me, I don't really give books 1 star. Like, in the last 8 years of this channel, I think there's maybe 10 books I've given 1 star. So that's why, like, to me, my 2-star kind of is my 1 star, if that makes sense. Because that is like the lowest that I will rate something. I'm going to DNF it, okay? Because, not because I want to, like, give a break to the book or anything, or the author. That's not it. I don't care. It's not my responsibility to make things okay for an author. You know what I mean? Like, not my job to do that. My job is to be honest with you guys. It's because I don't finish a book that is going to be a 1 star, right? I DNF it. And so when I DNF a book, if I DNF it before 50%, which is usually where I'll do it, I don't rate the book. I will still probably put a review. I will definitely talk about it on my channel, but if I'm DNFing a book before 50%, I don't put a review because I didn't finish it. I don't know if the author will carry it off or change something, but I will DNF it and I will tell everyone that I disliked it, right? So a 2-star for me means there is irrevocably something wrong with the story. I don't connect with the characters. I feel a pit in my stomach when reading it. I can think of some books for that where I just feel so icked out by it. I feel like the author didn't give enough reason for things. I think that it is offensive in some way, or I think the author has an agenda with what they're telling, and so I can't dive into the story. So that is usually what a 2-star is for me, which again, generally is the lowest that I rate a book, is 2 stars. I'm probably not recommending this at any point. There are very few situations where I have recommended a 2-star book, again, because someone specifically asked for a specific kink or something that I haven't read anywhere but in that book. I've done that before, where I'm like, okay, well, if you want this, it happens in this book, but I don't recommend it. I'm just letting you know that it happens. So I have done that for people. So anyway, after I spent 15 minutes on the first question, no, I knew that one was going to take a while because a rating system inherently is going to be very personal. And I've seen discourse through the years where people are like, we need a universal rating system. And I'm like, we do have one. The universal thing is 0 to 5 stars. What those stars mean to each person, of course, is going to be unique to them because reading is an individual activity. Okay, we can do group reads, we can chat about stuff, but reading is an individual activity. So I don't need to line my scale up with anyone else. You, my friend, watching this, if you're watching my reviews and you want to trust them, you yourself have to become familiar with how I rate the books. Like, I'm just being honest. Like, I can only share what it is to me. And if you're someone who trusts my reviews, you know by now what it means if Jen gives it a 4 or a 5 or a 6 star, right? So that's all I have to go off of. But anywho, we need to move along. So, okay, maybe not. I guess I kind of answered number 2, so we'll be able to go on from it. Because number 2 is, how do you approach reviewing books? What's your style? Are you analytical, emotional, casual, or structured? Yeah, I think that's been answered. I should have looked ahead because, yeah, I'm extremely emotional. When I am beta reading, which means I'm not reading to rate the book, I do try to be a little more analytical and look at the structure of the story and see if it hits certain beats. I beta read for 3 different authors. 2 of them are friends. One of them I beta read and I don't know the person really. I just wanted the experience of beta reading for someone I don't know. But when I beta read for my friends, as of now, like, they've all written stories that, like, aren't my normal jam, right? But they've asked me to beta read, and I really try to think about, are they hitting the beats they need to hit? Even though I don't connect specifically with these characters, do I think there's enough there for a reader to connect with them? And so I would say that in beta reading, I'm more analytical and like structural with it, but in everything else, honestly, I'm casual and emotional. Like really, that's what I am. Even in my book clubs, like I'm reading it, I'm talking about what I like, because even though this is a job for me, it's the making the videos that's the job. I don't know if people know that or think that, but I still enjoy the reading of the books, right? And if I don't, that's where the DNF comes from. There are some books I have to read because I'm paid to read them for patrons or for whatever, but in general, I don't read what I don't have to. So I'm emotional, and if you ever have received an annotated book from me, and maybe one where there's some stuff I'm not liking in the book, you'll know I'm emotional. There's people out there who know what I'm talking about, for sure. Okay, number 3. What's the book that made you a reader? Whether it was your first favorite or the one that got you hooked, what book started it all? Oh my gosh, splitting the baby here. So this is super difficult to say because I don't know a time when I wasn't a reader. Obviously, I know there was a time before I could read, but I don't know a time before I was reading, and so it's hard to pinpoint what did it, right? It's hard to pinpoint what did it. I always share, like, my family was a reading family. Back then, my dad read a lot more. He doesn't read as much anymore, but my mom still does. My mom has read every day of her life. My mom has read every day of her life. I love that. And as soon as I could learn to read, my parents stopped reading to me and made me read. So always going to the library, getting me books whenever we could, taking me to used bookstores. I was always reading. So some of the first books I ever do remember reading on my own were The Boxcar Children, The Saddle Club, the Thoroughbred series, and Little House on the Prairie. Those were like the chapter books that I first was voracious for and wanted to get my hands on as many of them as I could. And that was really what got me into it. And then I never stopped. Like my school library, you could check out 2 books at a time. And I was there every day at lunch, taking out 2 new books. I would usually have 1 book read by the end of the day, and the second book I would read when I got home. And then the next day, I would drop them off in the morning, and at lunchtime go and get 2 more new books. I had a book with me every day of school, my entire life, my entire school life, and that has just always been me. So again, that is, I've probably skipped ahead to certain things already, but anywho, those are some books I can credit to it, that bingeable nature of those. I really enjoyed The Saddle Club, Little House on the Prairie, the Thoroughbred series. I didn't really read many of the Babysitter's Club, but the Boxcar Children, oh my gosh, I loved those. There was also, side note, there was a train car that was in the woods about a mile from my house. Not like back in the, it was off the highway and woods. And when I was a kid, I was obsessed with that. I only got to go there like twice because my mom was like, you're not going to climb through it. But she understood that because I was reading the Boxcar Children, I really wanted to look in that train car. And so anyway, that had me having fantasies all the time about being one of the children who was living in the boxcar. Okay, number 4, do you have a genre niche? Are there certain genres you gravitate towards, or do you read widely across? So again, this was written for reading taste in general, right? So you guys know the answer. I'm a romance booktuber. I've been solidly a romance reader for about at least 15 years. But I do enjoy some fantasy and paranormal on the fringes. But in general, I want to read romance, right? If there is a fantasy, I want it to be a fantasy romance. If it's paranormal, there better be a romance. I remember the first paranormal book that broke my heart. I'll tell you it in just a second. Because it was one of those series that was like an ongoing series. So it had a heroine and she had multiple love interests. And at this point, I knew I loved romance, but I didn't realize how important it was for me to have an HEA yet. And so I was, I think, like 16 when I was reading this one. And again, up to that point, I hadn't been destroyed this way. I had been naturally reading romances that had HEAs. I was reading Christine Feehan and Sherilyn Kenyon, and I was reading those ones that it's a new couple in each book, and they have an HEA. No matter what they go through, they have an HEA. Well, I started reading the Rachel Morgan series by, I can't remember her name, but I was reading the Rachel Morgan series, and she was a witch. And in book 4, which I think it's called Every Which Way But Dead or whatever, I'll put the book up. There was a vampire love interest of hers. Sorry if you want to read these books. I'm going to spoil this. I'm going to tell you what happened that broke me. And this was a like enemies to lovers situation. He was at first supposed to like spy on her, but then they started falling in love and she was genuinely falling for him. And then to punish him for falling for her, he was staked and left for dead for her to find. To obviously it punished him because he's dead. He wasn't useful anymore, but it was also to warn her away from what she was doing. And when she came across his dead body, petrified, I was broken in so many pieces because I was sure that Rachel and Kristen were going to be together. And I had been waiting for them to get together for a couple of books, and things had finally gotten spicy between the two of them. And then he was killed because the story's about her. It wasn't about her and him, right? It wasn't one of those where it's a couple that's going to get together and be together. And I did not know to look for that. And so that is a moment where I was struck with, why does this book feel different than the others? And at 16, you know, I didn't understand that the romance genre must have the romance, right? That was romantic paranormal. It wasn't paranormal romance, right? So anyway, that's a thing to bring up of like, I have solidly been a romance reader since then. And anytime I came across books where I didn't have an HEA, I felt extremely upset and devastated because I didn't understand what was happening, you know? And look where that's led me today. One of the staunch defenders and supporters of romance that there is. Well, I try. But anyway, that's just a side note. I don't know if you've ever read that series, tell me. I did read a few books after that. Because I know she has other love interests through the thing. I think that's a series that's still going as well. But I never felt the same after that. I was devastated. And the worst part, you guys, the worst part. I was reading that book when I was with friends on a like youth retreat. I was reading this witch book, which was funny. And I was reading it before service, right? We had like an hour to chill out. And I read that part. So needless to say, I really needed the Lord that day because I was devastated by my fictional vampire boyfriend who just died. And it was horrible. So anywho, we got to move along here. So that is why I love romance. And now that I know that the promise of romance is the HEA, I get very upset if I get lied to or deceived in any way for that. Okay? You guys will know, I've come across a few in my day of authors who think that they're writing romance or want to say they're writing romance because there's kissing in it, and then they kill someone. And they're like, ooh, I'm being edgy and subverting the genre. And I'm like, no, you lied to people. You're not writing a romance novel if someone dies at the end that was in the romance. You're not. Okay, number 5. We're only on number 5. See, I told you this would be a long discussion. Aren't you glad you're here with me? Woo! Number 5. Do you generally prefer character-driven or plot-driven stories? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. I like character-driven stories. I very rarely care for completely plot-driven stories. And again, because this tag is towards like fiction in general or like reading in general, I understand why they're asking this. But for me, I mean, romance, you're almost like you're going to be character driven, right? Because the HEA is the defining characteristic of it being a romance. And that means that the relationship between the characters is the defining part. So I very much want a romance driven, character driven story. It's why I think that romantasy is a category that A, everyone wants to write in right now, but B, is more difficult to write in than they think it is. because a fantasy, it's important to have a good plot, or people will feel like, well, this was just a romance with fairies who fuck each other, right? That's where we get into. But to make a story perfectly balanced between the romance is central, but also the plot needs the romance for it to go. Like, it's a very tricky thing. And it's why I think romantasy is thrown around too easily because of TikTok. And fantasy romance, in my opinion, is generally where they end up more. And I'm okay with that because I want the character-driven stuff to be there. So, yeah. Number 6, what's a book you love so much that you don't care if others don't like it? Or what's that one book that you love enough for everyone else? What's a book you love so much? I mean, that's easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Again, that's my favorite saying today. I bet everyone knows. Look what I'm reaching for. The answer is Outlander. The answer is Outlander, okay? The answer is that I love this book so much, I don't care if you don't love it. Just don't tell me about it. I don't want to know that you don't love it. It's okay if you don't love it. But I love this book enough for many, many people. Probably not for everyone, because there are lots of other people who love it a lot as well. But there's that. See, I did grab a book instead of post it up because it's right there. Number 7, what's a book you love so much that if someone doesn't like it, you know your reading tastes don't align? The book or books where a difference of opinion is a strong indicator of a different reading preference. Ooh, this is such a good question. Ooh, such a good question. But also very difficult because, to be honest, I struggle to think of one. And I think that's because in a lot of ways, my favorite subgenres of romance are historical and like fantasy romance, and dark romance. And dark romance, I'm never going to judge someone who doesn't want to read dark romance because that just takes a certain type of reader to want to like it. So I think that for me it's hard because I almost need to break it down into subgenre wise, like if someone doesn't like it. I actually can think of a funner one. What's a book you love so much that if someone doesn't like it? Now, I know they're really trying to word it super strongly, like if someone doesn't like it, they're wrong. But honestly, it's not the most popular book in the world, but to me, it's a book that is just full of so much joy that if someone doesn't like it, I think they're trying to analyze it too hard, and therefore it would be tough for us to be on the same thing because you need to be able to let go a little bit to like it. Or B, it's just not their style of humor, and then we may also struggle. So I'm actually going to say the Stay a Spell series. I'll say Wolf Gone Wild, but the Stay a Spell series. Because if nobody can find anything enjoyable about that, like if you truly are like, no, I don't like this, it's bad, I really would be like, well, do you not know how to have some fun? I mean, the question's supposed to be harsh here. It's like if someone doesn't like it, it's an indicator that you'll differ. I don't think that's true 100% because I read very diversely across the romance genre, but I think that I've seen so many people have a good time with that book. And even people who don't like love it, at least see that it's fun and that it isn't trying to be too deep, but it still hits on some very poignant things about like being isolated and finding your tribe and found family and a sisterhood. And like, there's just so many beautiful things in it. So that's very interesting. I'm landing on that, but I land on it because of what that book means to me. Whereas, to be honest, as I said, if there's people who don't love Outlander, I can think of legitimate reasons why people don't like it, right? It's just, as I said, I just don't care if you don't like it. Like, don't tell me. I don't care. It's my favorite book of all time. If you say you don't like it, you're just saying it to be mean to me, you know? Like, that's what you're saying, right? Whereas with like Wolf Gone Wild, it brings me so much joy every time I open it. It makes me smile so big. It's so happy. And so if someone doesn't like it, I'm just like, okay, that's fine, but you probably just can't let go that good. And so it might be tough for us to talk about books because I don't love that book because it is executed perfectly. You know, even Juliet wouldn't say it's executed perfectly, but it brings a lot of joy. So interesting. That's what came to my mind. because I think that a lot of other of my favorite books, I can see why people don't like them, you know, so I can be rational about it in a way. But yeah, anywho, number 8, what's in your trash pocket? What books, tropes, or themes that you know are bad, but you love them anyway? Oh my gosh. This is funny coming from like being general fiction. It does feel, and I haven't watched their videos yet. I've only watched Crystal's. This does feel like a bit of side-eye almost to romance, because again, this was general fiction readers who were making this tag, and it feels like they want romance to be in the trash pocket, which I don't love that. But okay, but let me say, what are some tropes and themes that I know are bad, but I love them anyway? Okay. This is kind of easy for me because I do love taboo, right? And you guys obviously know I have an entire playlist of taboo romance. I enjoy it so much. I think it is hot as hell most of the times, but they're not healthy tropes, okay? They're not. And so one of my favorites that is absolutely toxic and so naughty is the like ex-boyfriend's dad. I really love that because it encapsulates a lot of my favorite things, which is forbidden romance, age gap. It has usually some secrecy, we're hiding it, and forbidden attraction. And so I really like all those things. So ex-boyfriend's dad is one of those that, again, I don't call them trash because I'm a taboo romance reader and I don't want to call anything trash. But I would say that one is one that if you weren't as deep into romance reading, you might think like, whoa, okay, that's a lot. Some other things. I don't know, man. The problem is I don't consider stuff trash. So I'm not ashamed of like anything that I like. And I do think one of the positives of, I'm just saying, one of the positives of Spice being so forward recently is that a lot of those have been stripped of their like judgment, at least in some part. So that, oh, okay. Another one that it is kind of a toxic theme sometimes, but I really love a one-night stand pregnancy. I really do. I really do. And I don't want that happening to people in real life who don't want that to happen. Like, I don't want that. But again, I don't think that's trash. I think accidental pregnancy and surprise baby are a huge theme. But again, when I try to look at them from like is this a healthy thing to be obsessed with? Probably not. Would I want an accidental pregnancy in real life? Probably not. But again, you guys know me around here. I don't think they're bad. So I think that is the difficult part, is that, again, no judgment to the people who made this, but I feel like with this tag, the side eye is supposed to be at romance. And so I'll have to watch some of their videos, but do they mention romance as being in their trash pocket? And I live in the trash pocket, I guess. Like, we'll make it home. One person's trash is another girl's treasure. And so I guess those are some toxic themes I like, is ex-boyfriend's dad and accidental pregnancy, but I don't find them to be bad. They're some of my favorites. So here we go. Number 9, do you have any deal breakers in books? Something that, if present, immediately turns you off from a book. I mean, I've made whole videos about this one. I just made a whole trope video about one of the things that turns me off, which is Secret Baby. But the specific thing, Secret Baby, when she decides he doesn't need to know about the baby for no other reason than she's like, oh, well, he doesn't seem serious about being a dad, so I'm not going to tell him for 5 years that he's a dad. I hate that. Also, it really turns me off when someone overhears something, just a very specific line of a book, and that's all they overhear, and they let it blow out of proportion. I really don't like that. I'm also getting really sick. Now, this is the rough thing, like, because it's saying deal breaker, but again, I'm a person that there are very few things that always instantly turn me off because I have trigger warnings in almost everything. So if I know a thing's going to be in there, I know. But a thing that I've shared that has recently really, really bothered me is in romances when they want there to be a cheating thing, okay? When someone's going to leave someone for cheating, they walk in on their wedding day, the morning of the wedding, the night before the wedding. You catch the person fucking the bridesmaid or the best man or the whatever. And I'm so sick of that because it immediately makes me think that the main person is dumb. Not that people don't get bamboozled with cheating, but the thing is it's never just like they're surprised the person's cheating. They've already thought the person was shitty. They have been having a bad feeling anyway. The person doesn't pay enough attention to them. They never make them come. That's something that turns me off. You're telling me never, like, for real? That trope is getting so old. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. That's the thing. Tropes have become tropes for reasons because they're real. But it turns me off lately so bad that you have this like 30-year-old woman who's dated off and on, and every partner she's had can't get her off. Because you know what that tells me? You know what that tells me? That doesn't just tell me that maybe the men are bad at that, okay? It also tells me that you're not communicating with your partner, right? And when you just say, oh, you can never get me off. And I'm like, but did you guys try together? Did you ask questions? Because then what happens is when she's with the man who is the man, he starts asking all those questions. And it's like, did you never try to communicate with your partner before? Because it sounds like you're both bad partners for each other. Now, again, those are tropes and things authors use to get the person out of the relationship, to have the breakup happen, to make the runaway bride thing happen. But it always just kind of sours me a bit because it's kind of like, you really got all the way to the altar and you're doing this. And then the person you're marrying is truly that bold, to fuck the person in the closet beforehand. Like minutes before you're walking down the aisle. I'm just over it. You know what I mean? I'm just over it. And it just happens so often now. Like that is how you show cheating, is you walked in on them. They weren't expecting you to be home. They are doing it right before the wedding. You get the wrong thing. Like that's how we show cheating all the time. And it automatically makes me honestly think a little less of the heroine. Or the hero. It doesn't just happen to the heroine. And that's just a personal taste thing, okay? I'm fine with the one where she's just broken up. Usually that leads to a one-night stand with the new character. Whatever it's going to be, that's fine. But I don't know. The toxic ex thing and having them have been so awful always just makes me think a little less of the heroine. Like, unless they had a reason they had to be dating, right? Why are you with the person who's treating you like shit? Okay. Now I'm sounding judgy. I'd like to move on from this because I am immediately thinking of real life situations. I know we stay with people that we shouldn't. I get that. I know, I've seen it, watched it happen. I know it does. But in romance world, I'm like, do we have to fall into that every time? All the time. But that's personal preference, okay? I'm not saying it makes a book bad. There are books I love that it starts that way. I can think of them. But some of my favorite things lately, let me turn it around. Some of my favorite things lately are when there was a good relationship with an ex, but it just didn't work out. Or they are co-raising their children. Great. It's going great. Those have been some of my favorites. The Single Dad Playbook series has one of those. And just lately, there have been a lot of single dad ones and single mom ones where they have raised their kids well with each other. And I think that happens a lot. Okay, there are lots of custody disputes and lots of bad things, but there are also ones where they're good. You know, there are ones where they're good. Number 10, what's a strong opinion you have about a book released within the last year, whether it's overrated, underrated, or just a take you need to share? Let me grab my book. Here we go. Let me grab my book here and see what I strongly rated. Sorry guys, that took me a while. I know I skipped the quiet time, but I think that I didn't have too many strong opinions. There was actually 2 books last month that were new releases that were tough for me. So actually DNF'd Caught Up by Nevessa Allen. I talked about that one a great deal in the weekly wrap up where I read it. And I didn't like hate it. I didn't read far enough in to hate it, but I really didn't like how it was starting out. I didn't really care for either of the character. I felt like it was a little bit too politically motivated, and that really just threw me out of it. I also feel like it didn't have the same tone that Lights Out did, which I actually found to be quite funny, and it kept pulling me along because it was ridiculous in a great way. And I feel like with Caught Up, the author just really wanted to do something with the story, which there's nothing wrong with that, never is, but it felt like a bit of a bait and switch within the series. The other one was Change of Heart. I talked ad nauseum about that one. That one I did finish. I gave it 3 stars, which, as I've now said in this video, means like I had some significant issues with it. That one was a second chance romance, and the second chance revolved around a hard decision that they have to make as teenagers. And I just felt very sick about the whole thing, and I didn't like that. It was a thing where they both had fault. Fault is the wrong word, but they both didn't react in the way that they maybe should have, which again, they were teenagers, but it felt like the hero took most of the fault and was made almost to be like this playboy asshole who ruined everything for them. And I didn't feel good about it. And so I was honestly a little like angry at the book for that. They took a very sensitive topic and kind of used it as a cudgel to beat the hero with, and I didn't care for that. So yeah, but I mean, honestly, I haven't had anything like super strong bad there. So number 11, what do you look for in writing? What makes a book stand out to you? Is it prose, style, themes, voice, structure, or something else? So this is one of the ones that I said I don't really notice this stuff. I do look for a good tone and like strong voice of the characters. I personally prefer first person. I like falling into the head of whatever the character is. I do. For me, romance is almost completely like insertable, which is why some stuff can ick me out because I can't see myself enjoying it. You know, it's escapism to the highest degree for me. And so if I'm really able to jive with that and hop in, like it's going to be an amazing ride for me. I obviously love the themes of romance. I love the themes of love conquers all. Prose very rarely stands out to me unless there's something very different the author is doing, right? And that doesn't necessarily scare me away. But example of this, like I always use A.L. Jackson, who writes a very lyrical prose. And I personally feel like the only way to really experience that is through audio. Because when I try to read it on page, it feels too flowery and just like almost hard to decipher what's going on. But when I listen to it performed by her wonderful narrators, the different narrators she works with, I just get entranced by them reading it to me. So that's an author where I really notice that. But otherwise, I'm not always someone who notices those things. There are a few authors I think who have very beautiful ones, and I do love them. I've given them lots of 6 stars, but it isn't something that I myself really pick out. As I said, I'm not analytical, I'm emotional. But when I look back at books that stand out to me the most, I do see that pattern, right? So Pam Godwin really sticks out to me. Julia Wolfe, Kennedy Ryan, those authors really stick out to me for how they convey the emotion of love and what it's like to fall in love and what it's like to become one with your partner, and not just in the sex part, like in all of it. Like one of the things I bring up is that I've noticed this now about Julia Wolfe, and I can't unsee it. When she has intimate moments, not just sex scenes, it's actually a first kiss scene where I first noticed this. I noticed this in See It Through. The first kiss scene between Hannah and Remy is a full body experience, okay? The author describes all 5 senses. They describe how I think it's in the heroine's, it might be in the hero's POV, because he describes her scent, he describes the feel of her body, he describes the taste of her lips, he describes the, like, just The emotional part of it, he describes that, what is it? See, touch, taste. Yeah, I don't even remember. Hearing her sighs, like she describes all 5 senses that the hero is feeling as they're having this first kiss. And it was such an erotic, intimate thing. And all they did was kiss. And I just was so entranced. And that is something now I've noticed about her that she describes almost always in her scenes. And someday I'm going to get to interview Julia Wolf. She's very shy, but someday I will. And I really want to ask her about that because it makes it so immersive for me as a first person point of view reader who loves that. I really feel like I was kissing Remy, you know, because he described all the senses and I loved that. So number 12, how do you decide what to read next? Do you plan ahead, mood read, or follow external factors, hype, recommendation, arcs? So this is something that has changed about me through time. So I do use a TBR. Now, while I've had this channel, I've created TBRs the entire time because it's just what you do on BookTube. And I used to be much more mood ready with it. Now I am pretty locked into a schedule. I don't have as much wiggle room. You know, I've showed this in my little booklet here. I have a TBR of books I'm reviewing. Let's show you one. I have a TBR of books I have to read for my patrons. So these are books that are of the highest priority. They must get read because someone is paying me to read them, right? Then there are the books I have to read for my author. I'm also being paid to read those ones. And then these are ones I'm reading because I signed up for the book, okay? Or someone sent it to me and I've said I would read it by a specific time. So these ones are kind of non-negotiable, but they still are because if I'm not liking the book or whatever, I'll DNF it. I'll say, I'm sorry, I can't review this book. Like that happens. And then I have, or I try to have some extra books down here that I can mood read if I just can't get into that arc right now. So it's like, oh, it's going to wait just a day. Let me read something else. I try to have those ready to go. But in general, I do have a TBR that then I pull from. So it's kind of like that mix then. Like I do still sometimes mood read through that list. Like if I'm ahead on the arcs, which doesn't happen very often, I will look ahead through the month and see, well, maybe I want to read the one that's coming out on the 30th. So I'm going to read that right now. So, but I do have a list of usually between 30 to 40 books that are expected for me to read. And I have been reading about 25 to 35 books. So I haven't been hitting everything every month, but that's kind of what I do. 13, where do you get inspiration for your BookTube content? What sparks your video ideas, other creators, trends, personal reading experience? So that's a great question, actually. For me, it's, well, I've explained this in other ways. There is my, the cyclical content, that's what I call it. I'll explain in a moment. There's cyclical content, evergreen content, and timely, must be done at a specific time content. Okay. So the stuff that always gets done is my weekly wrap-ups, right? You know, there's TBRs, wrap-ups, those videos are always getting done every month, right? So for me, that's 10 videos pretty much right there, kind of locked in. Well, not 10. Let's see. Usually there's 4 or 5 weeks. So 5, 6, 7. That's 7 books. Usually I do a book haul every month, but just whenever I have enough books to do it. Those are what I call my mandatory. Those are ones that are set in stone. I'm going to do those. Then there is kind of cyclical ones. So those are ones that I've kind of created as a thing for me that I do. And I do them every other month or every quarter, right? So those are the ones that are anticipated releases for the quarter. Those are ones where I do reviewing the last blank number of new releases. There is, let's see, what some other ones I do. Oh, there's ranking the recent, oh, that is that one, ranking the last 20 new releases, whatever. There's also ranking recent authors. I do that one about every 5 to 6 months. And then of course there's the yearly things too, doing all the yearly wrap-ups. So that's what I call my cyclical things, right? Then there's my evergreen content, and those are the recommendation videos and tags like this. And I just, I have watched some videos that explain this, right? But it's also just what I want to do because I've made my channel niche to have oddly specific recs and to have recs of all types. I have over 600 videos that are recommendations, some from very broad, like straight up just saying romantasy, down to spanking recommendations, right? And that is what I've made my niche. I just have. So that is my evergreen content as well. Like I just this morning had a comment on a degradation video that I made 2 years ago. And so someone's seeing it, right? So those videos are the ones that are for the algorithm, right? Where someone types into Google looking for age gap recs and maybe I get pulled into that list. Or Mafia, right? I made a lot of Mafia videos. I get pulled up into those. And so evergreen content is a good way for people to discover you. So that's partial business plan and partial like it's my niche. I want to be doing it and I found a way to make it work for my channel. Like when you look at the most viewed videos for the Book Refuge, it's my dark romance rec videos, my taboo romance rec videos, and some of my Outlander videos are way up there as well. So as it goes, like that is just a structure that I've created. Now there is also a other tiny window that is pertinent on topic content, which if you watch other people describe the type of videos you should make, they'll call those the on topic videos or the trending ones, right? And I don't make a ton of those. Like I would consider this tag video either a cyclical thing or a on topic one, but it's not like this one is trending. It's just that I saw a few friends make it because it's a tag. And when I couldn't come up with an idea, I went with that, right? So for me, my videos, you know, it may seem like chaos, but in general, they're pretty well planned, right? The Sunday video is always going to be the weekly wrap up. The Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, there's usually always going to be one rec video a week. And then depending on the time of the month, there'll be one of those other videos I mentioned, right? There'll be the wrap up video. There'll be the ranking new releases. There'll be ranking authors. There'll be a book haul. That usually fits into one of the days. And then the evergreen content goes on one of the other days. And sometimes a week will be all recommendations because I don't need to make another one of the other ones. So I'll have 3 different types of recommendations and stuff like that. So anyway, that was a long explanation, but I've talked about that in videos before where it's like, you know, how to do a booktube or whatever. And when I have a very limited amount done some consultation or like chats with people who are trying to grow their channel, those are the suggestions I make, right? Because when you build up your backlist of videos, whether you're doing 1 video a week or 4 videos a week, right? I've done 4 videos a week for 8 years, okay? I have a backlist that can sustain itself if I'm gone for a week, right? There are lots of videos for me to be watched and everything. Which helps keep my numbers steady if I'm sick. You know, there was a time when my back was out and I couldn't film, or I go on vacation, or like during the summer, I don't have as many of my weekly wrap-ups because I'm away. Like my backlist helps sustain my channel viewage if I'm gone for a while, right? And so I always suggest to people, you need to not only make on-topic videos, you have to build evergreen content. And the struggle is, if you only make on-topic videos, then you have a very short window for people to be interested in that topic. Whereas if you have evergreen, maybe someone's not interested in it today, maybe just your regular viewers watch it, but then that video can sit back there and get views as people are looking for that thing, you know? So anywho, that's enough of an explanation. I'm happy. If I remember, I'll link a few videos where I talk about that more. But yeah, it's interesting. Number 14, if you could make any book go viral right now, what would it be? A book you think deserves more attention and why? Oh, snap. That is so difficult because I feel like I'm playing favorites if I say that. So let me do this. I will do one book that it's self-serving for me to say, right? This is Jen waving the bias flag. I'm doing it. I'll tell you. One book I wish would go viral for a self-serving reason would be Last Light, right? Because I work for Claire Kent. Also, I've loved this book for 5 years. You can believe me or not, take the bias or not, but I have been reading this book for about 5 years and I love it. And now that I work for her, it is amazing. But this is a book that I recommend this to so many people. Even if you don't think you like dystopian romance, this one is so different from everything. And I mean, again, I've said it. I wish it would go a little bit viral, because I think that would be amazing for my author that I work for, and it'd be very exciting. But I truly just think this one is a really good book. So I would pick this one. Another book would be a Julia Wolf. It really would. I think that P.S. You're Intolerable, it's had its moments before, but P.S. You're Intolerable was my favorite book from 2023, and I adored it with my whole heart and soul, and I still do. I still recommend it to so many people. And I think Julia Wolf is one of the kindest, sweetest ladies I know. So I would love if P.S. You're Intolerable went viral. That is a office romance, plus size heroine. She is pregnant in the beginning. It's not with his baby. She's pregnant with someone else's child. And their romance is so, so beautiful. So I would say that one. I'd say P.S. You're Intolerable and Last Light. I would love if either of those went viral so much. And then 15, who are some booktubers with reading tastes similar to yours? And just like Big Sis said me in her video, I say the same about her. Crystal and I, though our taste is still very different, okay? In general, I can understand what she's saying about books, and though we maybe like read a lot of books different right now, we kind of will both talk in depth about the books that we read. We do it in different ways, right? She does analyze a bit more and really goes into the heart and soul of the book and the author's maybe intent behind the story they're telling. And I think that's fascinating. And she has definitely influenced in some ways how I think about books over the years. And I love that. Even though we don't cross over a ton, we're very similar. Now, for some other people, I think Christy from Christy Reads a Lot, our taste is pretty similar. I think Ava from Ava's Romance Reads, or Ava's Reads Romance, I think. Rachel from Rachel Reads and Sings. Amber from Amber Reads Romance. Helen from, is it What Helen Reads? I think I have similar taste to those ladies in either like we really like dark romance and we like all the same, or contemporary tastes. I've done a lot of like readathons or read-alongs with these readathons with these gals, so I know we have a lot of like similar tastes in that way. Oh, and Jess from Honest Fiction, though she's like almost solely romantasy focused these days, but we are similar in a lot of our likes as well. It's always fun to chat with her. So yeah, anyway, thank you so much for joining me for this. I told you we'd have a good discussion. I will, as I said, tag the creators of this. I'll tag some of the, I'll tag the channels that I mentioned in that as well. And if you would like to do this tag, I will, well, I already said that. I'll link the original so you can check it out there. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having a wonderful holiday weekend. If you're in the US, make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel. As I've explained, I put up 4 videos every week, so there's something for everybody there. I hope you have a wonderful day, my friends, and we'll see you next time.